Penny is a character in Stardew Valley who lives quietly, almost invisibly, in the shadow of someone else's struggle. When you first meet her, she's easy to overlook. She doesn't have Shane's edge or Haley's confidence or Sebastian's brooding intensity. Penny is soft-spoken, polite, almost painfully shy. She lives in a small trailer on the east side of Pelican Town, just west of the river, with her mother Pam. She spends her days reading, cleaning, tutoring the town's children, and quietly dreaming of a life that looks nothing like the one she has. This is Penny's story, about growing up as the responsible one in a household where responsibility was never modelled for you. About learning to want things for yourself when you've spent your whole life taking care of someone else. About the slow, tentative process of believing that you deserve more, that your kindness isn't a weakness, that the future doesn't have to look like the past. Hey, thanks for being here tonight. Stardew Valley is a game about fresh starts, about leaving behind something that wasn't working and building something new. Penny's story fits that theme perfectly, but she hasn't had her fresh start yet when you arrive. She's still stuck in the same life, still cleaning the same trailer, still worrying about the same problems. Tonight we're going to walk through Penny's complete journey, from the cramped trailer where she grew up to the life she builds when someone finally shows her that she matters, that her dreams are valid, that she's allowed to want things for herself. You don't need to stay awake for all of it. That's not what this is for. If you drift off while I'm talking about Penny's lessons with the children, or her cooking experiments, or the quiet way she falls in love, that's perfect. I'll keep talking and you can just let go. Let your breathing slow. Let your body sink into rest. Let Penny's gentle story carry you towards sleep. Thank you for trusting me with these quiet hours. Let's visit Pelican Town together. Close your eyes whenever you're ready. When you first arrive in Stardew Valley, when you inherit your grandfather's old farm and start meeting the people of Pelican Town, Penny is one of the quieter introductions. She's not waiting at the bus stop like Robin. She's not greeting you at a shop counter like Pierre. You might find her reading near the graveyard in the mornings, or sitting at a bench south of the Stardrop Saloon with her friend Maru, or walking between her trailer and the museum. She introduces herself politely, tells you her name, and that's about it. There's no dramatic first impression, no big personality to remember. Penny blends into the background of Pelican Town the way she's been doing her entire life. But if you pay attention, if you notice the details in her words and her schedule, and the way she carries herself, Penny's story starts to take shape almost immediately. She mentions the trailer, she mentions her mother, she mentions the children she teaches, and in the spaces between those mentions, you can start to see the outline of someone who's been putting everyone else first for so long that she's almost forgotten she exists as a separate person. Penny's home is the trailer on the east side of town, and it tells you everything you need to know about her life before you hear a single word of dialogue about it. The trailer is small, dim, cluttered. It's not a home in the warm, welcoming sense. It's a place where two people live because they don't have anywhere else to go. Penny shares this space with her mother Pam, and the dynamic between them is the foundation of everything in Penny's story. Let your breathing find its rhythm, slow and steady, like the gentle sound of pages turning in a quiet room. Pam is Penny's mother, and understanding Pam is essential to understanding Penny. Pam is a complicated figure in Stardew Valley, someone who is neither purely sympathetic nor purely villainous, but something messier and more human than either. Pam was the bus driver for Pelican Town before the bus broke down. When you arrive, the bus isn't running, and Pam has lost the job that gave her purpose and structure. Without the bus to drive, Pam spends her days at home or wandering to Jojamart, and she spends nearly every evening at the Stardrop Saloon drinking. Pam's alcoholism is the elephant in the trailer, the problem that shapes every aspect of Penny's life. Pam drinks heavily, comes home from the saloon late, wakes up hungover, and repeats the cycle. She's not a bad person. She's someone who's dealing with loss and dissatisfaction, and the slow erosion of purpose in unhealthy ways. Pam is loud, blunt, sometimes rude, but she's also capable of warmth and humour and genuine care. She loves Penny in her way. She tells you at one point that Penny is the only one she's got, asks you to treat her kindly. But love doesn't automatically translate into good parenting, and Pam's love for Penny exists alongside neglect, volatility, and the kind of emotional unpredictability that comes with living with someone who drinks too much. Penny has grown up in this environment. She's spent her life navigating Pam's moods, cleaning up after Pam's messes, keeping quiet when Pam comes home drunk, being the responsible one in a household where the parent has abdicated that role. Penny doesn't talk about this much, at least not at first. She's learned to be private about her home life, to present a calm, composed exterior to the world, to handle things on her own because that's what she's always had to do. Penny has become an expert at managing chaos quietly, at making sure things are taken care of without drawing attention to how much work that takes. This pattern, this instinct to be the caretaker rather than the cared for, this tendency to minimize her own needs in favor of managing someone else's, shapes everything about who Penny is. She's kind because kindness is her default, because being kind and accommodating and undemanding is how she's learned to survive in a household where drawing attention to yourself might mean triggering Pam's temper. Penny's helpful because helping is what she knows, because she's been the one holding things together for so long that she doesn't know how to stop. Let your muscles release their tension, starting from your toes, moving upward, letting go of everything you're holding. Penny doesn't have a paying job of her own. Instead, she volunteers her time tutoring the town's two children, Jazz and Vincent. Jazz is Shane's goddaughter who lives at Marnie's ranch, and Vincent is Sam's younger brother who lives with his mother Jodie, and eventually his father Kent when Kent returns from military service. These two children are the only school-age kids in Pelican Town, and there's no formal school for them to attend. Pelican Town is small enough that traditional institutions like schools don't exist there, so Penny has taken it upon herself to educate them. Several days a week, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Fridays, Penny takes Jazz and Vincent to the museum and library, where she teaches them reading, arithmetic, and whatever else falls within the scope of a general education. She sits with them, goes over lessons, answers their questions, gives them the structured learning environment that they wouldn't have otherwise. On Saturdays, she takes them to the playground near the community centre, letting them play and have the kind of unstructured childhood fun that's just as important as formal lessons. Penny's teaching isn't just a hobby or a way to pass the time. It's the thing that gives her life meaning. In a world where she doesn't have a career, doesn't have her own home, doesn't have much control over her circumstances, the children are something that's hers, her responsibility, her purpose, her contribution to the community. Penny takes the work seriously, plans lessons, worries about whether she's doing a good enough job, cares deeply about Jazz and Vincent's development and well-being. Teaching also represents what Penny values most: stability, nurturing, the creation of a safe environment for growth. Everything Penny didn't have growing up, she's trying to provide for these children. She's trying to be the steady, reliable, caring presence that she needed and didn't get. It's not that Pam was completely absent or completely uncaring. It's that Pam's presence was inconsistent, coloured by alcohol and mood swings, and Penny knows what it's like to be a child who can't predict what version of her parent she'll get on any given day. She doesn't want that for Jazz and Vincent. She wants them to know that when Penny says she'll be at the museum at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, she'll be there. That consistency, that reliability is Penny's gift to them, and it cost her nothing except time she doesn't have much else to do with, but it means everything. Let your jaw relax, your tongue rest, your face become smooth and peaceful, releasing all tension. Penny's daily routine tells its own quiet story. On days when she's not teaching, she reads. She reads near the graveyard in the spring and fall, finding a quiet spot away from the bustle of town, away from the trailer and whatever mood Pam might be in. She sits with a book and disappears into other worlds, other lives, other possibilities. Reading is Penny's escape, her way of experiencing things she's never been able to experience herself. She's never travelled, never lived anywhere but this trailer, never had the resources or the freedom to explore the world. Books give her that in the only way available to her. Penny loves books so much that they're among her favourite gifts. All books. Any book you bring her will make her happy, will feed that hunger for knowledge and experience and the kind of intellectual stimulation that Pelican Town, for all its charm, doesn't always provide. Penny also loves poppies, which are bright and cheerful, and maybe represent the kind of beauty she wishes she saw more of in her daily life. She loves melons, emeralds, diamonds, poppy seed muffins, red plates, roots platters, sandfish, and tom kha soup. These preferences paint a picture of someone who appreciates both simple pleasures and small luxuries, who's never had much but who knows what she likes. What Penny hates is equally telling. She hates alcohol. All of it. Beer, wine, mead, pale ale, hops, everything associated with drinking. This isn't a random preference. This is a child of an alcoholic rejecting the substance that shaped and damaged her childhood. When you give Penny alcohol, you're not just giving her something she doesn't like. You're giving her a reminder of everything she's been through, every late night waiting for Pam to come home from the saloon, every morning cleaning up the evidence of last night's drinking, every argument fueled by too many beers. Penny's hatred of alcohol is one of the most telling character details in the entire game, a small preference that reveals an entire history of pain. She also notably hates the rabbit's foot, which normally functions as universal love for most villagers. The rabbit's foot is actually connected to the Group 10 Heart event with all the bachelorettes. If you've been dating all bachelorettes at once and you enter Haley and Emily's house, the bachelorettes confront you about it. Having a rabbit's foot in your inventory prevents them from getting upset. Penny's hatred of the item is a quirky exception that sets her apart. Penny's friendship with Maru is one of her few close social connections outside of her teaching and her complicated relationship with Pam. Penny and Maru can sometimes be found sitting together on a bench south of the Stardrop Saloon, two young women in a small town finding companionship in each other. Maru is the daughter of Robin and Demetrius, a science-minded, ambitious young woman who works part-time at Harvey's clinic and builds gadgets in her spare time. Penny and Maru are different in many ways, but their friendship is genuine, quiet and consistent. The kind of relationship where you don't need to be dramatic or exciting, you just need to show up and be present. Penny also has a connection to Sam, Vincent's older brother. She dances with Sam at the Flower Dance Festival if neither of them is dancing with the player. There's a moment in Penny's 8-Heart event where Vincent mentions seeing Penny and Sam climbing trees together, and Penny gets visibly flustered and scolds Vincent for gossiping. The game's creator, Concerned Ape, has clarified that he wasn't trying to imply anything serious with this scene, regarding a romantic continuation between Penny and Sam. By the time you've reached 8 hearts with Penny, he noted, she's no longer interested in Sam. It's a small detail, but it matters because it shows that Penny has had a social life outside of her teaching and her home, that she's had friends and experiences, even if her current life feels limited and small. Let your body sink deeper into the mattress, heavy and warm, held by softness, safe and supported. Penny's 2-heart event happens when you enter Pelican Town on a sunny day between 9 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. You come across a scene where Penny is helping George, the elderly man who uses a wheelchair and lives with his wife Evelyn and grandson Alex. George's mail is stuck in his mailbox and Penny reaches for it, trying to help him get it, but George gets upset. He didn't ask for help. He feels like his independence is being taken away from him, like Penny is treating him as if he can't do things for himself. You have a choice in how to respond to this situation. You can tell Penny she did a kind thing, which increases your friendship with her. You can tell her she should have asked before assuming George wanted help, which decreases your friendship. Or you can stay out of it entirely. Regardless of what you say, George eventually sighs, apologizes to Penny for getting angry, and admits that what she did was kind. Penny says she understands his frustration. After George leaves, Penny reflects on how difficult it must be to grow old, and you get another set of dialogue options about aging and mortality. This event is small, quiet, easy to forget, but it tells you important things about Penny. She's compassionate, instinctively reaching out to help someone she sees struggling. She's also sensitive, affected by George's reaction, worried that she did the wrong thing, and she's thoughtful, reflecting on the broader implications of what happened, thinking about aging and independence and the balance between helping people and respecting their autonomy. This event also establishes Penny's pattern of helping others without being asked, of stepping in to care for people because that's just what she does. It's the same instinct that makes her tutor the children, the same impulse that makes her clean the trailer, the same tendency to put other people's needs ahead of her own comfort. Penny is a caretaker by nature, and while that's a beautiful quality, it's also one that can lead to burnout, to losing yourself in the needs of others, to forgetting that you have needs too. Penny's 4-heart event is the one that pulls back the curtain on her home life. You trigger it by entering the trailer when Penny is home. When you walk in, you find Penny frustrated with the mess in the trailer. The place is cluttered, dirty, not the kind of environment anyone would choose to live in. Penny's embarrassed by it, ashamed that this is her home, aware that the mess reflects poorly on her even though it's not her fault. She asks for your help cleaning up. Together you start tidying the trailer, putting things away, trying to make the small space feel a little more livable. It's a bonding moment, a chance for you and Penny to work together, to share in the mundane reality of her life. But then Pam comes home. Pam walks in, sees you and Penny cleaning, and immediately gets upset. She's been drinking, she smells like beer, and she's angry. Not at the mess, but at the fact that Penny has let an outsider see it, that she's invited someone into their home and exposed the reality of how they live. Pam yells at Penny, tells her it's embarrassing to have someone else cleaning their home, asserts her authority as the parent even though she's the one who created the mess in the first place. The argument escalates. Penny, probably fueled by the courage of having someone else there to witness the dynamic, pushes back. She confronts Pam about her drinking, calls her selfish. Pam retaliates by pointing out that she provides a roof over Penny's head, accuses her of being ungrateful. It's the kind of fight that clearly isn't happening for the first time. The kind of well-worn argument that both parties know by heart, where the same accusations fly and neither side really hears the other, because they've been having this exact fight in various forms for years. Eventually Pam asks you to leave, and the argument continues behind closed doors. The next day you receive a letter from Penny, apologising for what happened, expressing her regret that you had to see that. This letter is so characteristically Penny. She's apologising for her mother's behaviour, apologising for the uncomfortable situation, taking responsibility for something that isn't her fault, because that's what she does, because she's been cleaning up Pam's messes, literal and emotional, for her entire life. Let your thoughts drift like clouds across a summer sky, present but moving, here but going, peaceful and slow. This 4-heart event is crucial because it shows you what Penny lives with every day. The mess isn't just physical clutter, it's the visible evidence of Pam's neglect, of a household where the parent has checked out, where the child has had to become the adult. The argument isn't just one fight, it's a pattern, a cycle of frustration and resentment and guilt that has been repeating for years. And Penny's apology letter isn't just politeness, it's a defense mechanism, the instinct to smooth things over, to make sure you still like her, to prevent you from seeing her differently because of where she comes from. Penny is ashamed of her home, she's ashamed of Pam's drinking, she's ashamed of the mess and the arguments and the cramped trailer and the feeling that she's trapped in a life she didn't choose. But shame is a heavy thing to carry, and Penny carries it quietly, privately, without complaint. She doesn't use her home life as an excuse or a bid for sympathy. She just deals with it, the same way she's always dealt with it, by being responsible, being quiet, being the one who cleans up. A week after the 4-heart event, Penny may approach you and ask how you feel about Pam. You can tell Penny that she's strong for what she deals with, which increases your friendship, or you can tell her that Pam's drinking is out of control, which she acknowledges, but which clearly makes her uncomfortable. Penny is protective of Pam even while being frustrated by her, the complicated loyalty of a child who loves a parent who hurts them, not through malice, but through the slow erosion of addiction and its effects on everyone close to it. Penny's 6-heart event happens when you enter the trailer and find her alone, working on something in the kitchen. Penny has been cooking. She's excited about it, eager to share what she's made, proud of the effort she's put in. She asks you to try a new recipe she'd been working on, and you sit down to eat. The food is bad. The game makes this clear through your character's reaction. Whatever Penny has made is rubbery, unappetizing, not the kind of meal anyone would voluntarily eat again. But you have a choice in how you respond. You can lie and tell Penny it was delicious, which makes her happy, increases your friendship and gives you a boost of energy. She responds with genuine excitement, tells you she's been working hard on this recipe, says she's going to name it after you. Or you can be honest, tell her the food tastes bad, which hurts her feelings and decreases your friendship, or has no effect depending on which response you choose. Regardless of what you say, Penny invites you to watch a movie together afterward. It's a sweet, domestic moment. 2 people sharing food and entertainment in a small trailer, finding connection in simple things. This event is important because it shows a different side of Penny, a side that's trying to develop skills, to learn new things, to grow. Cooking is not Penny's strength, and the game is honest about that. But the fact that she's trying, that she's putting herself out there, that she's willing to risk failure in front of someone she cares about, that matters. It shows that Penny isn't just passively accepting her circumstances. She's trying to build competence, to develop the skills she'll need for the future she imagines. The cooking event also establishes a recurring theme in Penny's story, the gap between effort and result, between wanting to be good at something and actually being good at it. Penny tries hard. She puts effort into her teaching, her cleaning, her cooking, her relationships. The results aren't always perfect, but the effort is always genuine, and that genuine effort, that willingness to try even when you might fail, is part of what makes Penny who she is. Penny's 8-heart event takes place in Cindersap Forest on a sunny day. You find Penny there with Jas and Vincent having a picnic by the water. It's a field trip of sorts, an outdoor lesson where the children can learn about nature and life outside the classroom. Penny is in her element here, organised and purposeful, giving the children the kind of enriching experience that she believes in. She sees you and asks if you'd like to be a guest speaker, to tell the children about life on the farm, about what it's like to live and work in the countryside. If you agree, you interact with the kids, answering their questions about farming and nature. Vincent asks if there are goblins living in the mines, and you can give various answers that range from reassuring to playful. It's a charming scene, watching Penny work with these children, seeing her patience and warmth, seeing how much she cares about their education and their experience of the world. After the children have been sent off to play, Penny asks you a question that reveals one of her deepest desires. She asks if you'd ever want to be a parent. This isn't a casual question for Penny. It's connected to everything she is, everything she wants, everything she's been working toward in her quiet, unassuming way. Penny wants a family. She wants to create the stable, loving home that she never had. She wants to be the kind of parent that Pam wasn't able to be, the kind who's present and consistent and reliable. Your response to this question matters to Penny. If you tell her you want a big family, she's visibly pleased. If you tell her you don't want children, she's respectful but clearly disappointed. This moment reveals the core of Penny's dream for the future, not fame or fortune or adventure, but something far more fundamental. Home, family, stability. The things that were missing from her childhood, the things she's been trying to create for others through her teaching, the things she hopes to have for herself one day. During this event, there's also the moment where Vincent mentions seeing Penny and Sam climbing trees together. Penny becomes visibly startled and scolds Vincent for gossiping. It's a brief human moment, a flash of something from Penny's past that she'd rather not discuss in front of you. But as established by the game's creator, this is a remnant of a past friendship, not an ongoing romantic interest. By the time you've reached 8 hearts with Penny, her attention and her heart are directed elsewhere. Let your mind become quiet, thoughts fading like stars at dawn, still present but invisible, peaceful and still. Penny's birthday falls on the 2nd of fall, early in the autumn season when the valley is just beginning to change colours. Birthdays in Stardew Valley are significant because gifts given on a villager's birthday have 8 times the normal effect on friendship. For Penny, this means that a single well-chosen birthday gift, a book, a poppy, a diamond, can mean more to her than weeks of regular gift-giving. Penny's birthday is early enough in fall that players have time to prepare, to find or grow or buy something special for her. The fact that Penny's birthday is in fall feels appropriate for her character. Fall is a season of change, of harvests, of things coming to fruition after months of growth. Penny is someone who's been growing quietly, developing slowly, waiting for the right conditions to bloom. Fall is also a contemplative season, a time when the valley becomes quieter, when the frenzy of summer gives way to the slower rhythms of autumn. Penny fits this mood, this quieter, more reflective energy. Penny's 10-heart event is the culmination of her romance arc, the moment where everything she's been feeling comes to the surface. Before this event can trigger, you need to have given Penny a bouquet, the item in Stardew Valley that signals romantic interest. Once you've given her the bouquet and reached 10 hearts, Penny sends you a letter asking you to meet her. After receiving the letter, you need to go to the pool area of the spa between 7 in the evening and midnight. The choice of location is significant. The spa is secluded, private, away from the rest of the town. It's not the saloon where Pam drinks. It's not the trailer where Penny sleeps. It's not the museum where she teaches. It's somewhere separate from all of Penny's usual roles and responsibilities. A place where she can just be herself. Not someone's daughter, not someone's teacher, not someone's caretaker. Just Penny. When you arrive, Penny is already there, in the pool. She's nervous, clearly anxious about what she's about to do, but also determined. This is a big moment for someone as shy and reserved as Penny. She's putting herself out there, making herself vulnerable, taking a risk that goes against every instinct she has to stay quiet and safe and unnoticed. Penny confesses her feelings for you. She tells you that she cares about you, that her feelings go beyond friendship, that she's been thinking about you and hoping you feel the same way. This confession takes courage, the kind of courage that doesn't look dramatic or heroic, but is incredibly difficult for someone like Penny, someone who has spent her life being careful, being small, being the person who doesn't cause problems or make waves. You have a choice in how to respond. If you tell Penny you feel the same way, she's relieved, happy, overwhelmed. She says she thought you did, but wasn't sure. If the player is male, she tells you she'll always remember this night, and you share a kiss. If the player is female, Penny tells you how beautiful you look tonight, her voice catching before you kiss. The moment is quiet and intimate, earned through all those days spent talking, giving gifts, building trust. If you reject her, telling her you don't feel that way about her, it's devastating. Penny bursts into tears, and the moment is painfully raw, a reminder of how much courage it took her to put herself out there, and how much it hurts when that vulnerability is met with rejection. It's worth noting that Penny's 8-heart and 10-heart events contain the most punitive friendship penalties in the entire game. In both events, there's a dialogue option that will decrease your friendship with her by 1,500 points, the equivalent of 6 hearts. If you tell Penny that you can't stand kids during the 8-heart event, or if you reject her confession during the 10-heart event, the friendship loss is enormous. These numbers underscore how deeply personal these moments are for Penny. These aren't casual conversations. They're the most vulnerable moments of her life, and the game's mechanics reflect just how much it would hurt her to be dismissed or rejected at these specific junctures. There's also the group 10-heart event, which can trigger if you've been dating all 6 bachelorettes at once and have seen all of their individual 10-heart events. If you enter Haley and Emily's house under these conditions, you walk into a room full of all 6 bachelorettes, including Penny, who have figured out that you've been dating all of them simultaneously. If you don't have a rabbit's foot in your inventory, they confront you about it, expressing anger and disappointment. They decide to give you the cold shoulder for about a week, refusing gifts and giving angry dialogue. Penny is part of this collective hurt, one of 6 women who trusted you with their feelings and discovered that trust was shared 6 ways. After about a week, they forgive you, and dialogue returns to normal. If you do have a rabbit's foot, the confrontation goes differently and they don't get upset. This event can only occur once per save file and won't trigger if you're already married. Let your body become heavy, so heavy, sinking down into the bed, becoming part of the softness, held and safe. If you choose to propose to Penny, if you give her the mermaid's pendant, which is the Stardew Valley equivalent of an engagement ring, she accepts. Marriage to Penny means she moves out of the trailer and onto your farm, leaving the cramped, cluttered space she's lived in her whole life for something new, something better, something that's hers in a way the trailer never was. Once married, Penny adds her own room to the farmhouse, a space that reflects who she is. Warm, bookish, comfortable. Her room is filled with bookshelves and has a cosy, library-like atmosphere. It's the kind of room Penny would have designed for herself if she'd ever had the chance. A quiet retreat filled with the books she loves, arranged the way she wants them, in a space that actually belongs to her. After years of sharing a tiny trailer with Pam, having a room of her own, a room she chose, a room that reflects her personality and her interests, must feel like freedom. Penny also sets up a small reading garden behind the farmhouse, an outdoor space where she sometimes goes to read and enjoy the fresh air. This garden is another expression of Penny's identity, a place of quiet beauty and contemplation, a reminder that home isn't just the building you live in but the spaces you create around it. After marriage, Penny continues to work. She still tutors Jazz and Vincent at the museum on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Fridays, walking the children through their lessons, maintaining the routine that gives her purpose. Marriage hasn't changed Penny's commitment to the children or to education. She's found a way to integrate her old responsibilities with her new life, to have both the family she's always wanted and the meaningful work she's always done. When married, if she's staying home, Penny also takes on some domestic duties at the farmhouse. On rainy mornings she might offer you large milk, an egg, mixed seeds or a geode. On mornings when she stays inside all day, she may cook you breakfast, an omelette, hash browns or pancakes. On rainy nights she may prepare dinner, salmon dinner, crispy base, fried eel, carp surprise or vegetable medley. It's touchingly domestic, this image of Penny cooking breakfast and dinner, doing the things she's always wanted to do, being the kind of homemaker and partner she dreamed about. Penny's cooking hasn't magically improved since the Six Heart event, and that's fine. She's still learning, still trying, still putting effort into becoming better at the things she cares about. Marriage hasn't transformed Penny into someone she's not. She's still shy, still bookish, still the same person she's always been. But she's happier now, more settled, more at peace. She has the stability she's always craved, the home she's always dreamed of, the family she's always wanted. Penny's marriage dialogue reveals the depth of her contentment and her ongoing emotional landscape. Some days she talks about the children, about lessons she's planning, about something funny Vincent said or a drawing Jazz made. Other days she asks about your day on the farm, expresses interest in your work, shares in the rhythm of rural life. On quiet mornings, Penny might mention how much she loves the farmhouse, how different it is from the trailer, how grateful she is for the life you're building together. But Penny's dialogue also reveals that happiness doesn't erase the past. She still thinks about Pam, still worries about her mother, still carries the residual anxiety of growing up with an alcoholic parent. Penny has left the trailer, but she hasn't left the experience behind. Those patterns of caretaking, of putting others first, of managing other people's chaos, those are deeply ingrained, and they don't disappear just because your living situation improves. Penny sometimes visits Pam, checks in on her, makes sure she's eating and taking care of herself. The relationship between them is still complicated, still fraught, but there's love there, messy and imperfect, but real. Penny doesn't hate Pam. She loves her mother. She just wishes things were different. Wishes Pam would take better care of herself. Wishes their relationship could be simpler and easier. But Penny has also learned to accept that she can't fix Pam. That Pam's drinking is Pam's problem to address. That loving someone doesn't mean you can save them. Let your breathing become automatic, effortless, your body knowing what to do without any thought or effort required. The community upgrade is one of the most significant things you can do for Penny and Pam's lives, even outside of marrying Penny yourself. After you've completed the community centre and fully upgraded your own farmhouse, Robin at the carpenter's shop offers a community upgrade. For 500,000 gold and 950 pieces of wood, she'll build a proper house to replace Pam and Penny's old trailer. It's expensive, a massive investment, but the result transforms their living situation entirely. The new house is a real home, with rooms and space and light, a dramatic improvement over the cramped, dim trailer they've been living in. It has a kitchen, a bedroom, proper facilities, the kind of living space that most people take for granted but that Penny and Pam have never had. The house also has a second floor, with a bed for Pam and a small area that feels like a real home rather than a temporary shelter. When the house is built, a cutscene triggers where Pam reacts to the new home. You're given a choice. You can tell Pam that you paid for the house, or you can remain anonymous. If you tell her, Pam is grateful but also somewhat uncomfortable, struggling with the weight of obligation, with the knowledge that she couldn't provide this for herself and her daughter. You're also given the option to tell Pam that she can start by treating Penny better, a direct challenge to the dynamic that's defined their relationship for years. If you choose to remain anonymous, Penny has her own reaction. She's grateful for the new house without knowing who to thank, wondering who in the community cared enough to do something so generous. There's something poignant about that, about Penny receiving this act of kindness and not knowing it came from you, about the possibility that sometimes the best gifts are the ones you don't get credit for. After the house is built and you have 9 hearts with Pam, entering the house triggers Pam's 9-heart event. In this event, Pam places a sign of the vessel, a Yoba symbol, in her new home, and she expresses a kind of tentative hope about her life, a spiritual feeling that things might be getting better. You can encourage this feeling, telling her you're glad she's feeling hopeful, or you can shut it down by telling her Yoba isn't real, which significantly decreases your friendship with her. This event shows a side of Pam that's rarely visible: vulnerability, hope, the desire to be better. The new house hasn't cured Pam's alcoholism. Pam herself acknowledges that the nicer home hasn't helped her cut back on drinking, but it's given her space where hope feels possible, where change doesn't seem as impossible as it did in that cramped, dark trailer. For Penny, the new house means something even more fundamental. It means home doesn't have to be something you're ashamed of. It means having space, having light, having a proper kitchen and a real bedroom, and the kind of domestic stability that she's dreamed about her whole life. Whether Penny is still living there because she hasn't been married, or whether she's moved to the farm and visits her mother in the new house, the upgrade represents a concrete improvement in the material conditions of her life, proof that things can get better, that circumstances can change, that the trailer wasn't the end of the story. Penny's 14-heart event happens after you've married her, when you enter the farmhouse between 3 and 7 in the afternoon while she's home. This event is exclusive to marriage, a milestone that shows how Penny has settled into her new life and how she's making the farmhouse her own. When you come home, Penny greets you and asks about your day. You can tell her it was fine, that it wasn't good, or that it was fantastic, and she responds warmly to each option. Then Penny makes a proposal. She'd like to redecorate the bedroom with her handmade decor. She'd been crafting decorations, putting her creative energy into making the space feel more personal, more like home. Penny offers you 3 design themes to choose from: Forest and Moon, which creates a peaceful blue-themed bedroom with night sky decals and a starry double bed; Strawberry Home, which creates a warm fruit-themed bedroom with strawberry decals, a fruit salad rug, and a strawberry double bed; or Pirate Theme, which creates a playful, adventurous bedroom with a pirate flag, a pirate rug, and a pirate double bed. You can also decline the redecoration entirely, telling Penny you don't want any changes, which she accepts without complaint. If you choose a theme, Penny asks you to move your chests out of the bedroom, promises not to touch them, and 3 days later you wake up to find the bedroom completely transformed according to your chosen style. The decorations she creates are unique items that can't be obtained any other way, with some additional items also available at Penny's shop during the Desert Festival. This event is charming because it shows Penny expressing herself creatively, making decisions about her space, putting her stamp on the home she shares with you. For someone who lived in a trailer she couldn't change, someone who never had the opportunity to decorate or personalize her living space, being able to redecorate a bedroom is a quiet but significant form of agency. This event also shows Penny's consideration and respect for boundaries. She asks before changing anything, offers you choices, respects your decision if you say no, and promises not to touch your personal belongings. These small courtesies reflect Penny's nature, her awareness of other people's comfort and preferences, her desire to make people happy without overstepping. It's the same instinct that makes her a good teacher, a good partner, a good person. This constant awareness of how her actions affect the people around her. Let your mind become empty as a vessel, hollow and still, containing nothing but darkness and peace and quiet rest. If you have children with Penny, her joy is evident in the way she talks about parenthood, in the way she engages with your kids, in the way she's finally living the dream she expressed all the way back in her 8-heart event. Penny wanted a family. She wanted to create the stable, loving home she never had as a child. And now she has it. This farmhouse with books and gardens and children, and a partner who chose her, who saw her, who valued the quiet kindness that so many people overlooked. Penny's approach to parenting is informed by her own experience being parented. She's determined to be present, consistent, reliable. She's determined to create an environment where her children feel safe, where they know what to expect, where the adults in their lives are stable and caring. Penny doesn't want her children to experience what she experienced growing up with Pam. She doesn't want them to learn caretaking as a survival skill. She wants them to be children, fully and freely, without the burden of managing a parent's problems. This doesn't mean Penny is a perfect parent. No one is. She still has her anxieties, her insecurities, her tendency to worry too much about whether she's doing things right. But the intention is there, the effort is there, the love is there. And for someone who never had a model of healthy parenting, who had to figure out what good care looks like by providing it for others, rather than receiving it herself, Penny is doing something remarkable. She's breaking a cycle, consciously and deliberately, creating something new for her children that she never had for herself. Penny's relationship with the other residents of Pelican Town is shaped by her personality and her position in the community. She's not the centre of any social circle, not the life of any party, not the person everyone goes to for excitement or drama. She's the quiet one, the reliable one, the one who shows up and does her part without making a fuss about it. Some people might not notice Penny at all, might walk past her reading near the graveyard or tutoring at the museum without registering her presence. That's the thing about people like Penny. They do essential work, they hold communities together, they provide care and stability and consistency, and often they do it so quietly that no one thinks to thank them for it. Penny's friendship with Maru is her most visible social connection. The two of them sitting on that bench south of the saloon, sharing conversation, being present for each other, is a recurring image in Pelican Town's daily life. Maru is more outgoing than Penny, more confident, more ambitious. But their friendship works because it's not based on similarity. It's based on comfort, on the ability to be yourself with someone without having to perform or pretend or be anything other than what you are. Her connection to Sam through Vincent is more circumstantial, based on the fact that Penny teaches Sam's brother rather than on a deep personal bond between them. But it's still a connection, another thread in the web of relationships that makes up life in a small town. Penny knows Sam because she knows Vincent. She knows Jody because she teaches Jody's son. She knows Marnie because she teaches Shane's goddaughter Jazz. Penny's teaching has made her part of multiple families' lives, has given her relationships and connections that she might not have had otherwise. Penny also has dialogue that shows her awareness of and concern for other townspeople. She mentions Linus, the man who lives in a tent near the mountains, noting that everyone ignores him, even though he's actually really nice, just a little odd. She worries about him being cold in his tent during winter. This observation is pure Penny, noticing the person no one else notices, caring about the person no one else cares about, extending empathy to the edges of the community where it's needed most. Let your body become weightless, floating in darkness, held by nothing, needing nothing, just existing in peace. Penny's story is also about the tension between contentment and ambition, between accepting your life and wanting more from it. Penny doesn't have grand ambitions. She doesn't dream of travelling the world or starting a business or achieving fame. Her dreams are domestic, personal, intimate. A home, a family, stability, love. In a culture that often values ambition and achievement above all else, Penny's dreams might seem small, unimpressive, not worthy of celebration. But that's part of what makes her story meaningful. Penny knows what she wants, and what she wants is something that many people take for granted, but that she's never had. A clean, safe home, a loving partner, children she can raise with consistency and care, the absence of chaos. These aren't small dreams for someone who grew up in Penny's circumstances. For a child of an alcoholic, for someone who spent her youth cleaning up messes she didn't make and managing moods she didn't create, the idea of a calm, stable home is revolutionary. Penny's dream of domestic happiness isn't about lowering her standards or lacking imagination. It's about understanding deeply and personally how valuable stability is, how precious predictability can be, how much it matters to know that when you come home, things will be the same as when you left. Penny's lack of traditional career ambition is also connected to her circumstances. She never had the resources for higher education, never had the opportunities that come with money or connections or geographic mobility. Penny has done what she can with what she has, which is to teach children for free, to read voraciously, to develop her skills in the limited ways available to her. She's not less intelligent or less capable than the villagers who have paying jobs. She's just had fewer options, fewer resources, fewer breaks. Penny's story reminds us that ambition takes many forms, that the ambition to create a good home and raise children well is just as valid and just as difficult as the ambition to build a business or master a craft. One of the most touching things about Penny's story is how she responds to receiving kindness. For someone who's spent her life giving, who's spent years being the one who takes care of things, who cleans up, who shows up, receiving kindness in return is almost overwhelming. When you bring Penny gifts, when you talk to her regularly, when you show interest in her life and her dreams, she's surprised. She's not used to being the focus of someone's attention. She's not used to being the one who's cared for rather than the one doing the caring. Penny's surprise at being valued reveals how deeply her sense of self-worth has been affected by her circumstances. Growing up with Pam's drinking, living in that trailer, being the responsible one from a young age, all of these experiences have taught Penny that her role is to serve, not to be served. She's internalized the idea that she's not worthy of special attention, that she's not the kind of person people go out their way for. When you prove otherwise, when you show her consistently that she matters, it changes something in her. Slowly and carefully, the way you'd nurture a plant that's been growing in the wrong soil. This is why consistency matters so much in your relationship with Penny. It's not the grand gestures that mean the most to her, though she appreciates those too. It's the daily interactions, the repeated choice to seek her out, to talk to her, to remember what she likes, to show up. Penny has been let down by inconsistency her whole life. Pam's moods swinging between affection and anger, between presence and absence, have taught Penny not to trust stability, not to believe that good things will last. Every day you show up and treat Penny with kindness, you're proving that stability is possible, that some things don't change, that some people really do keep their promises. Let your thoughts become whispers, then silence, then nothing at all, just emptiness and peace and rest. Penny's story resonates with many players because it's relatable in a way that's easy to underestimate. Not everyone has fought monsters or explored caves or built a farming empire. But many people know what it's like to grow up in difficult circumstances, to be the responsible one in their family, to dream of something better while feeling trapped in something worse. Many people know what it's like to be shy, to feel unnoticed, to wonder if anyone sees them for who they really are beneath the quiet exterior. Penny represents the people who hold communities together without recognition, the caregivers and teachers and volunteers who do essential work for no pay and little acknowledgement. She represents the children of difficult parents, the ones who learned early that love doesn't always come with reliability, that being loved by someone doesn't mean that person can provide what you need. She represents the dreamers whose dreams are labelled ordinary, whose desire for home and family and peace is dismissed as unambitious, when it's actually the hardest thing to build and the most precious thing to have. Penny also represents the possibility of growth, of change, of breaking cycles. Penny grew up with Pam's drinking, grew up in chaos and instability, grew up learning patterns that could easily be repeated in her own life. But Penny chose differently. She chose to be present for Jazz and Vincent when no one required it of her. She chose to create stability for others, even when she didn't have it for herself. She chose to keep reading, keep learning, keep dreaming, even when her circumstances suggested that dreaming was pointless. Penny's story shows that your past doesn't have to determine your future, that the patterns you grew up with can be recognized and changed, that you can be the person who breaks the cycle. Penny's relationship with Pam continues to be complex, even after things improve. The community upgrade gives them a better house, but it doesn't fix the underlying dynamics. Pam still drinks. Pam is still loud and sometimes insensitive. Pam still spends her evenings at the saloon. The new house is better than the trailer, but the relationship inside it is still the same relationship it's always been. When the bus service is restored, whether through the community centre's vault bundles or through the Joja community development form, Pam gets her job back. She resumes her role as the bus driver, managing the bus stop east of the farm and driving passengers to the Calico Desert. This job gives Pam structure, purpose, something to do during the day besides sitting at home or wandering to Joja Mart. Having regular employment may not cure Pam's alcoholism, but it gives her a framework, a reason to get up in the morning, a role in the community that isn't just customer at the saloon. For Penny, Pam's return to work is complicated. On one hand, it's good for Pam to have purpose, to have something productive to occupy her days. On the other hand, there's a dark irony that many players notice. Pam is driving a bus while spending every evening drinking heavily at the saloon. The game doesn't address this directly, treating Pam's bus driving as a straightforward positive development, but the tension is there, the uncomfortable question of whether someone who drinks as much as Pam should be operating a vehicle carrying passengers to the desert. Penny navigates all of this with the same quiet grace she's always shown. She worries about Pam, checks in on her, maintains their relationship while also maintaining her boundaries. Penny has learned, through therapy or through hard-won experience or through the natural wisdom that some people develop when they grow up too fast, that she can love Pam without being responsible for Pam. She can care about her mother without trying to fix her. She can maintain the relationship without losing herself in it. Let your consciousness fade like fog burning away, present then absent, here then gone, leaving only peace and rest. Penny's participation in the festivals of Stardew Valley reveals more layers of her character. At the Egg Festival, she's present and engaged, part of the community celebration. At the Flower Dance, she dances with Sam if you haven't asked her yourself. But if you have enough friendship with her, 4 hearts or more, you can ask her to dance with you. Penny accepts, and there's something beautiful about seeing this shy, quiet woman in the middle of the dance, participating in something joyful and communal, being seen. At the luau, Penny notes that Mayor Lewis is neurotic about the way the communal soup tastes because he's trying to impress the governor. It's a practical observation, the kind of thing Penny notices because she's always watching, always paying attention to the dynamics around her. At the dance of the moonlight jellies, Penny is present at the beach, watching the floating jellyfish with the rest of the town, part of the community in a way that feels natural and unforced. At the Stardew Valley Fair, Penny is there, participating, being part of things. At Spirit's Eve, the Halloween-like celebration with its haunted maze, Penny attends. At the Festival of Ice and the Feast of the Winter Star, she's present, part of the community, showing up for the shared rituals that bind this small town together. Penny's presence at these festivals isn't dramatic, isn't attention-grabbing, but it's consistent. She shows up, she participates, she's part of the fabric of Pelican Town, woven in quietly but firmly. When you're married to Penny and attend the festivals together, her dialogue reflects her contentment, her happiness at being there with you, her appreciation for the life you've built together. Festival dialogue when married tends to be warmer, more intimate, more revealing of the private relationship between you and Penny. She might express gratitude, share observations, mention how different things feel now compared to before. There are qualities in Penny that emerge slowly, that you only notice after spending time with her, after paying attention to the small details of her daily life, her patience, for instance. Penny is extraordinarily patient with the children she teaches, with Pam's behaviour, with the slow pace of change in her life. This patience isn't passive resignation, it's an active choice, a decision to be steady and calm even when things are frustrating, even when progress is slow, even when the people around her are testing her limits. Penny's courage is another quality that's easy to miss. She doesn't perform grand acts of bravery, doesn't fight monsters or explore dangerous caves. But Penny's courage is real and significant. It takes courage to keep hoping when your circumstances suggest that hope is futile. It takes courage to keep teaching when no one pays you for it. It takes courage to confess your feelings in the spa, putting your heart on the line when rejection could be devastating. It takes courage to dream of a better life when you've never seen one up close. And Penny's intelligence is there too, evident in her reading, in her teaching, in the thoughtful way she observes the world and the people around her. Penny is well-read, curious, interested in ideas and knowledge. She doesn't have formal credentials, doesn't have a degree or a title, but she has the kind of wisdom that comes from reading widely, thinking deeply, and paying attention to the lives of others. Penny is smarter than people give her credit for, more perceptive than her shyness suggests, more capable than her modest circumstances might imply. Let your body become part of the darkness, indistinguishable from the night, at peace and at rest. Penny's story is ultimately about the quiet revolution of building a good life from difficult beginnings. She doesn't overthrow any systems, doesn't defeat any villains, doesn't achieve anything the world would call dramatic or newsworthy. But she creates something remarkable nonetheless. A life worth living, built from the materials she had available, shaped by her values rather than her circumstances, informed by her past but not imprisoned by it. Penny takes the instinct to caretake that she developed growing up with Pam and channels it into something healthy and productive, teaching children, nurturing a family, creating a home. She takes the love of reading that sustained her through lonely years in the trailer and makes it part of her identity, filling her married room with bookshelves, setting up a reading garden, finding joy in knowledge and imagination. She takes the dream of stability that was born from growing up without it and makes it real, building the kind of home she's always wanted, on a farm, with someone who chose her. None of this is easy. None of it happens quickly. Penny's growth is gradual, incremental, the kind of change that's only visible when you compare who she is at 10 Hearts to who she was when you first met her. But the growth is real, and it's earned, and it's meaningful. Penny's journey from the girl cleaning up her mother's messes in a cramped trailer to the woman reading in her garden behind a farmhouse she calls home is a story about resilience, about self-determination, about the power of small, consistent choices made over time. Penny's story shows that you don't have to be loud to be strong, that you don't have to be dramatic to be brave, that you don't have to have grand ambitions to have a meaningful life. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is build something good from something broken, is choose stability over chaos, is be the kind of person you needed when you were a child. Penny is doing all of these things, quietly, consistently, without fanfare or recognition, and that's enough. Penny's teaching continues to be central to her life even after marriage, even after children, even after everything changes. She walks to the museum on her teaching days, meets Jazz and Vincent, goes through lessons, maintains the routine that means so much to her and to them. When Leo, a child from Ginger Island, eventually moves to Pelican Town, Penny welcomes him into her lessons too, expanding her classroom, adapting her teaching, making room for one more child who needs what she has to offer. Penny's connection to Ginger Island extends beyond Leo's education. If the player builds the beach resort on the island, Penny may occasionally visit, spending time in the sunshine far from the valley she's known her entire life. For someone who's never travelled, who spent her whole existence in Pelican Town, moving between the trailer and the museum and the playground, visiting a tropical island is a significant experience. Penny's dialogue on Ginger Island reflects a quiet wonder at seeing something new, at being somewhere different, at experiencing firsthand the kind of place she's only ever read about in books. Penny also participates in the Desert Festival, a multi-day event in the Calico Desert that brings villagers together for shopping, competitions and socialising. During the festival, Penny actually runs a small shop where she sells some of her handmade decorations, the same kinds of items featured in her 14-heart event. Night sky decals, strawberry decals, pirate flags. These crafted pieces are available for purchase, giving other players access to Penny's creative work. This detail reveals a side of Penny that's easy to miss. She's not just a teacher and a reader, she's also an artisan, someone who makes things with her hands, who has creative talents that go beyond cooking and lesson planning. Penny's dedication to teaching is unwavering. She doesn't get paid for it. She doesn't get formal recognition. She doesn't have a teaching certificate or a classroom or supplies or any of the resources that professional educators take for granted. She has books and patience and the museum and the playground and the sincere belief that these children deserve to learn, that their minds deserve to be nurtured, that education matters even in a small town where there's no school and no one else seems to think a teacher is necessary. There's a curious piece of development trivia worth mentioning here. Before Stardew Valley was released, during its years-long development by the solo creator Concerned Ape, Penny wasn't always called Penny. At one point in development, she was named Dadna. The name changed at some point before the game's launch in 2016, and Penny became the name that millions of players would come to know. Her appearance also evolved over the game's development. Concerned Ape's art style shifted and improved over the years he spent building the game, and Penny's look changed alongside it. The Penny who exists in the final game is the product of years of artistic refinement, a character whose visual design matured alongside her creator's skill. Another detail from the game's trivia: the dish Penny cooks during her 6-heart event, the one that tastes rubbery and bad, actually shares its sprite with the vegetable medley item. If you look closely during the brief moment when your character eats it, the food appears to be a vegetable medley, and it restores the same amount of energy as one. It's a small detail that most players miss, but it's the kind of thoughtful consistency that Concerned Ape built throughout the game, where even throwaway moments have internal logic and visual accuracy. This dedication to teaching, this willingness to do important work without compensation or recognition, is both admirable and sobering. It's admirable because Penny is genuinely making a difference in these children's lives, giving them knowledge and structure and the kind of caring adult attention that every child needs. It's sobering because it reflects the reality of how much unpaid or underpaid care work is done by women in small communities, how much essential labour goes unrecognised and uncompensated, how many pennies there are in the real world doing vital work for no pay because someone has to do it and no one else will. If you reach the summit of the mountain in Stardew Valley after achieving 100% perfection on your farm, a special cutscene plays. Penny is among the characters who can appear in this cutscene. Each character who appears has a unique line of special dialogue, reflecting on your journey and your impact on the community. Penny's presence at the summit at this moment of achievement and reflection is a reminder that she's part of your story, that her life has been changed by your presence in Pelican Town, that the connection between you matters. Penny's reaction in the summit cutscene, her specific dialogue for this moment, carries the weight of everything you've been through together. From the shy girl reading near the graveyard to the woman standing at the top of the mountain, Penny's arc is complete, or at least as complete as any arc can be in a game about ongoing life. She's found what she was looking for. She's built what she dreamed of building. She's become the person she always had the potential to be. Someone who chose to create love and stability rather than perpetuate chaos and pain. Let your breathing become so slow, so quiet, barely disturbing the air, barely existing, just a whisper of life. Thank you for spending these quiet hours with Penny, for listening to her story, for paying attention to the shy girl that many players walk past without a second glance. Penny's story doesn't have the dramatic intensity of Shane's battle with depression, or the gothic romance of Sebastian's brooding darkness. It's quieter than that, simpler, more domestic, but it's no less meaningful for its quietness, no less powerful for its simplicity, no less worthy of attention for its domesticity. Penny's story teaches us about the value of kindness, about how small acts of care and consistency can change lives. It teaches us about the impact of family dysfunction on children, about how growing up with an alcoholic parent shapes your relationship with control, with stability, with your own self-worth. It teaches us about the dignity of unpaid labour, about the importance of teaching, about how much communities depend on the people who do the work no one notices. Most importantly, Penny's story teaches us that it's possible to build something beautiful from difficult beginnings, that your childhood doesn't have to define your adulthood, that the cycles of dysfunction and pain can be broken by someone who's willing to be different, who's willing to try, who's willing to believe that things can change. Penny grew up in a trailer with an alcoholic mother, and she became someone who reads voraciously, who teaches children for free, who creates warm and loving spaces wherever she goes. She didn't have a model for the life she wanted, so she built one herself, from books and dreams and the stubborn belief that she deserved better. If you're someone who grew up in difficult circumstances, who learned caretaking as a survival skill, who dreams of stability the way other people dream of adventure, Penny's story might feel familiar. It might feel seen. It might feel like someone finally noticed the quiet work you do, the invisible labour of holding things together, the constant effort of being the responsible one in a world that doesn't always reward responsibility. Let your mind become quiet as falling snow, each thought settling and disappearing, leaving only stillness and peace. Sleep now, if you haven't already. Let Penny's story fade into dreams. Let her quiet journey become a gentle backdrop to your rest. Penny is in the farmhouse reading by lamplight, the children sleeping in their beds, the garden growing behind the house, the bookshelves full, the home warm and safe. She's not worried tonight. She's not cleaning up someone else's mess, or managing someone else's mood, or hiding her shame about where she lives. She's just here, in her home, in the life she built, at peace. Let your breathing slow. Let your body sink. Let your mind empty. Let sleep take you gently into darkness and peace. Penny's story is told, and now you can rest, can let go, can drift away into the quiet rest you've earned. Thank you for being here tonight, for listening to Penny's story, for caring about the quiet girl in the trailer. Sleep well, dream peacefully, let go. Penny sits in her reading garden behind the farmhouse, a book open in her lap, the evening air warm and still. She's not reading right now. She's looking up at the sky, watching the first stars appear, feeling the kind of contentment that she once thought was only possible in books. The farm is quiet around her. The crops grow in the fields. The animals sleep in their barns. Inside the farmhouse, everything is clean and ordered and safe, not because Penny is compulsively cleaning up someone else's mess, but because this is her home, and she takes care of it because she wants to, because it's hers. Let your body become weightless, floating in darkness, held by nothing, needing nothing, just existing in peace and rest. Penny thinks about the trailer sometimes, about the small dark space where she grew up, about the sounds of Pam coming home late from the saloon, about the morning spent cleaning before anyone else was awake. She doesn't think about it with bitterness exactly. More like the way you think about a difficult book you read once, something that was hard to get through, but that taught you important things, that shaped the way you think and feel and understand the world. The trailer made Penny who she is. The chaos taught her to value order. The instability taught her to create stability. The loneliness taught her to connect with others, to build friendships, to seek community. Pam's drinking taught Penny to refuse alcohol, to distance herself from the substance that damaged her childhood, to define herself partly in opposition to what hurt her. Everything Penny is, good and complicated and real, was forged in that trailer, in that relationship with Pam, in those years of quiet endurance and silent dreaming. But Penny is not defined by the trailer. She's not limited to being the daughter of an alcoholic, the girl from the wrong side of town, the child who had to grow up too fast. She's also the teacher, the reader, the partner, the mother, the friend. She's the woman who reads in her garden, who decorates bedrooms with handmade art, who cooks meals that might not be perfect but are made with love, who shows up every Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday to teach children who aren't her own because someone should, and no one else will. Penny closes her book, stands up from the garden bench and walks inside. The farmhouse is warm, lit by lamplight, full of the small evidences of a shared life. Your boots by the door, children's drawings on the wall, books stacked on every surface because Penny never met a book she didn't want to keep. She makes her way through the rooms quietly, checking locks, turning off lights, doing the evening things that have become routine, the comforting rituals of a settled life. Let your consciousness drift away like smoke, present then absent, here then gone, leaving only peace. Penny gets ready for bed, following a routine that's become second nature. She changes into pyjamas, brushes her teeth, looks in on the children if there are children to look in on. She stacks her books neatly, straightens a cushion, pauses at the window to look out at the farm one more time. Everything is quiet, everything is safe, everything is exactly as it should be. This is what Penny dreamed of. All those years in the trailer, all those nights lying awake listening to Pam stumble home. This is what she wanted. A quiet home, a warm bed, the knowledge that tomorrow will look a lot like today. Not because life is boring, but because life is stable, and stability is the greatest gift Penny can imagine. Penny lies down in bed. If you've let her redecorate, the room bears her touch. Night sky decals on the walls, or strawberry patterns brightening the space, or pirate flags adding a touch of playful adventure. Whatever theme she chose, whatever you chose together, the room feels like hers in a way that the trailer never did. This is Penny's space, Penny's home, Penny's life. She lies in the darkness, breathing slowly, feeling the weight of the day settle and dissolve. She thinks about tomorrow's lessons with the children, about what she'll teach, what books she'll bring, what questions Vincent might ask, and what answers Jazz might know. She thinks about the garden, about whether the tomatoes need watering, about whether the sunflowers are tall enough to bloom yet. She thinks about you, about the life you've built, about how different everything is from where she started. Penny smiles in the dark, not a big smile, not a dramatic expression of joy, just a small, private smile, the kind of smile that comes from deep contentment, from knowing that you're exactly where you belong, that the life you're living is the life you chose. Penny is okay, more than okay. Penny is happy in the quiet, steady way that happiness works best, not as a peak or a rush, but as a baseline, a default state, the thing you return to when the day's small challenges are over and you're lying in your bed in your home with the people you love safe under the same roof. Let your body sink into sleep, gentle and inevitable, like falling into clouds and darkness and peace and rest. The farm is quiet now. The chickens roost in their coop. The cows sleep in the barn. The crops grow silently in the fields, nourished by rain and soil and sunlight. Inside the farmhouse, Penny sleeps, her breathing deep and even, her body relaxed, her mind at rest. Tomorrow she'll wake up, make breakfast, walk to the museum to teach, come home to the farm, read in her garden, live the life she built from the ground up. Penny's story is a reminder that the quietest stories are sometimes the most powerful, that the people who don't make a fuss are sometimes the ones doing the most important work, that the dream of home and stability and love is not a small dream at all, but one of the biggest and most meaningful things a person can aspire to and achieve. Thank you for being here tonight, for listening to Penny's story, for seeing the person behind the shyness and the books and the quiet routine. Penny's story is told, and now you can rest, carried by the knowledge that somewhere in the valley, in a farmhouse filled with books and warmth and love, a girl from a trailer is sleeping peacefully in the home she always dreamed of. Let your breathing slow, let your body sink, let your mind empty. Let sleep take you gently into darkness and peace. Penny is sleeping, the children are safe, the farm is quiet, the world is still. Everything is okay. Everything can wait until morning. For now there is only rest, only peace, only the gentle darkness that holds you safe as you drift away. Sleep now, rest now, let go now. Good night.